One of my big questions is coming from the audience about the smoothie recipes. If you spend any time on social media, you will know that there's a huge push to tell you that vegetables are bad, leafy greens have anti-nutrients in them that can cause arthritis, they can cause kidney disease, and so on and so forth. So I've been getting a lot of questions about oxalates. They're like, Dr. Rachael, your smoothie recipes are full of vegetables, they're full of fruits. Should we be worried about oxalates? So first, a little bit about what oxalate is. So oxalate and oxalic acids are is a substance that are found in some naturally occurring products. They're found in some nuts, they're found in some fruits, they're found in some vegetables, and they can be found in elevated levels in things that are nitrate rich. Now, what typically happens when you consume something that is oxalate rich or has high levels of oxalic acid is that the gut bacteria in your body does its thing, breaks down the oxalates and the oxalic acid, and it doesn't become a problem. Well, in a smaller subset of people, those oxalates, instead of them being broken down and dealt with properly, they can actually bind up calcium and cause calcium crystals to form. And so, for example, people who have kidney disease, you worry about calcium oxalate stones and kidney stones. And in certain instances, people who all of a sudden are dealing with severe forms of arthritis, just a little bit more achy than normal, then we worry and wonder that perhaps oxalate crystals are depositing in the joints, in the kidneys. So the question comes, Dr. Rachael, if you're putting spinach and arugula and all these vegetables into a smoothie recipe, should we be worried about oxalic acids? So one thing I want to mention is that in the smoothie recipe books, it does say, you can add beetroot extract. And in certain recipes, we do say add beets, we add spinach. And those are vegetables that have a tendency to have a little bit more oxalate or oxalic acid in them. But typically, if you're drinking a lot of water and the vitamin C within the smoothie recipes has a tendency to balance that out. But the problem comes is if you're drinking the smoothies, then you are doing some beetroot powder or beetroot extract that is high in oxalates, then you could potentially increase your issue of arthritis, achy joints, or even a kidney stone, or even kidney issues. So for me, I've been constantly on the lookout for supplements that are low oxalate supplements that can complement the smoothie recipes, help boost nitric oxide levels, but not put you in the danger of having high levels of oxalic acid and oxalate to precipitate or actually form oxalate crystals. So that's been the thing. So I've had a couple gentlemen ask me to review beetroot powder. I will go to tell you that the most famous beetroot powder on Amazon, when I contacted them to ask them what is their level of oxalate or oxalic acid in their beetroot powder, they had no idea. They had never even tested it. So what I want you to do is that if you are focusing on beetroot powder or you are using supplements that are designed to boost nitric oxide levels, you want to ask, is this a low oxalate formula? And now that I realize that so many people in this industry lie, you actually want to see evidence. You want to see their third-party analysis of the fact that it is an oxalate-free formula, because it can precipitate out issues. So what I want you to do is when you're looking at your nitric oxide supplement, you want to know, one, is it a oxalate-free formula? Are they using some of the lower oxalate vegetables like arugula or celery or something that we know doesn't have oxalate? Or can they give you clarification on the fact that their substance is oxalate free? Now, I find that those beetroot powders on Amazon, I've contacted 3 of the top sellers, and nobody would send me any evidence that they are oxalate free or that they even measure their oxalate. So you do have to be careful there. All right, so that is one thing that you always want to keep in mind is the oxalate issue. The other thing that you want to keep in mind when you are selecting a nitric oxide supplement, something that's going to help your body boost nitric oxide, is I want you to think of it like this. Everybody's body is completely different. Like for instance, I have a supplement for nitric oxide boosting production that I started to notice as I was taking it. I was getting heart palpitations, right? My heart was fluttering. So clearly that one wasn't for me. So then what do? Is I go to the next one and decide maybe this next one is right for me. Because for me, boosting nitric oxide is about, it's an anti-aging serum. It's about increasing blood flow to all my important areas. And recently, I'll tell you a little side note, I was exposed to carbon monoxide poisoning, like for over some days. And so one of the big things that I know I had to do was get my nitric oxide levels up because blood flow and delivery of nutrients to my brain and to my heart and everywhere else is so important. So when you are looking at your supplements, make sure that if you are on something that is designed to boost nitric oxide by giving you nitrates, you want it to be an oxalate-free version, right? And so of course the one that I'm taking now and that I recommend for my family is linked below, but that when it's oxalate free, it does go very well with smoothie recipes. It goes very well with you having a diet that's rich in the leafy greens, like arugula, like celery, like spinach, things like that. So when you're hearing online that vegetables are inherently bad for us, you just cannot listen to that. What you do want to know, though, is that you have to balance everything out. I feel like the sickest people that I meet are the ones that have been on a diet where they ate all meat for the past 2 years. And then on the other side of them, I got sick people who have eaten all vegetables for the past 2 years, because you've got to balance things out. You've got to figure out what nutrients are lacking based off of the restrictive diet that I'm taking, because those are restrictive diets, and how can I replace them naturally. And there are actually plenty of blood tests that can give you that type of analysis that can let you know where your nutrients and your micronutrients are lacking. So anytime you're feeling bad, you're like, gosh, I got all these things going on with me, I really don't know where to look, I suggest you start with a functional lab panel, get your results. Maybe even if you're working with a physician that has the technology to kind of give you a result that analyzes and tells you potentially some of the things that you need more of and less of, then that is sometimes a better way to go than just loading up on 20 different supplements. I heard this doctor, I heard DrRachael, then I heard Dr. Berg, then I heard Dr. such and such, and then and then my doctor. And so I'm taking 29 things. And if you're taking 29 things, you better have some data that shows you whether or not you need those 29 things or not, right? So all of that is super, super duper important. Okay, cool.